Hi, this is Tim, reviewing a watch from the Discount Watch Store. First, I just want to point out, it comes in a nice solid box from Discount Watch Store, and it doesn't have any markings on it, so it doesn't just stand out and say, steal me, when it's laid on your doorstep. A lot of people put their advertisement logos, etc. They do not. So that's a good thing. Subtle but good. Let's take a look at what we have inside. What we have here is a Citizen watch. I'll take a look at what's inside, but it generally comes in the Citizen box. It has the barcode and serial number on the back of the watch, and as you can see, the retail MSRP for this watch is $225. However, the Discount Watch Store, I believe the pricing runs right about $135. So inside the box, you have your instruction manual, 5-year warranty, which is good, and it's also very important because if anything goes wrong, they'll take care of it for the first 5 years. And the quick start guide. So what we have today is the Citizen Men's AT0200 Echo Drive chronograph canvas watch. Let's kind of move all this stuff out the way, and as you can see, it comes in a pretty, standard Citizen presentation box. It's made out of recyclable cardboard, but it still makes a decent presentation when you're given a box, when you're given a watch. So if you're given it as a gift, the packaging inside is probably going to be satisfactory for that purpose. Anyway, let's take a look at the watch for a second. Here we have the watch, and you can see from the picture that it is a military style or field watch. It has a 1-second chronograph that measures up to 60 minutes, and that is this dial up here toward the 9 o'clock position. It goes from 0 to 60 once you activate the chronograph, which I'll show you here. It's this top button. As the large hand makes its way around the watch, the small hand and the subdial keeps track of the minutes. And that's nice. I often use it. I don't go to lunch at a regular time, and so I often use the chronograph function of a watch with a similar movement to keep track of when I left and when I need to be back. So it's good for that. You have an hour-long lunch, and there's an hour timer right there in the subdial. What's also neat is when you stop the chronograph, it has this nice hand sweep of the chronograph. So as you can see, it returns right up there to the 12 o'clock position. Now, the other neat thing about it is that if that chronograph dial ever gets out of place, this movement is very easy to calibrate. Basically, you pull the crown out and you manipulate the chronograph buttons. It shows you how to do it in the manual. But in any case, it's easy to calibrate to make sure that the dial goes back to the 12 o'clock position. Alright, let's talk about some technical specs of the watch. The watch itself is an Echo Drive watch, and which is kind of interesting because on some of the older Echo Drive watches you can really see the solar panels in the face of the watch. I have a Citizen that's probably 11, 12 years old, and it's pretty obvious that it's an Echo Drive watch. This one, I don't think I would know unless you told me that it was an Echo Drive. So what does that mean? It means that it can, if it's fully charged, it has a 150-day power reserve. So if you wear this once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's not going to run out of power. I wear my Citizen generally at night or on the weekends, and I leave it, on a desk or in a drawer, and I've never had it run out of energy. So that 150-day power reserve is nice. It also has the 24-hour military style clock, which you can also tell whether or not obviously the watch is set to the AM or the PM, and that's up here near the 1 o'clock position of the watch. And at the 1 o'clock position, it basically is a 24-hour clock, so you can tell whether or not you're at AM or PM. Obviously right now you see it's right near the 20 or the 21, so we're at 9 o'clock. Anyway, so that's nice too. If you have to ever deal in military time, it's good for that. I like it because I know whether or not it's AM or PM when I'm trying to set the date or move the date. Because that can be kind of a pain. You turn it around and you don't know whether or not it's going to flip over or not on the date wheel. So anyway, it's nice for that. Some other specs about the watch. It is an olive green canvas strap, which, as I'll show you here, has these reinforced steel grommets, which are cool looking. But that could be a plus and a minus, because, as I'll show you the back, the grommets themselves don't sit exactly, use two hands there, don't sit exactly flush with the back of the strap. And so that can become maybe a little bit, depending on who you are, a little bit annoying. But it's okay. If it fits loosely on your wrist, that's not going to bother you. But if it's a tight fit, you might be aggravated just by these digging in just a little bit. The other thing about the strap is, it is a canvas, olive green canvas strap. Okay? Now, the thing about that is that what they did is they added leather to the back, just a small strip of leather on the inside to the back of it. Now that makes it a lot more comfortable. But with every plus there's a sacrifice, and the sacrifice is that if you're going to use a field watch or something watch like this as a watch for swimming and outdoors and when you're sweating, obviously the canvas and nylon, etc., are not going to break down. But leather, I'm sure this is waterproofed, but over time the leather may either absorb smell of sweat or it may start to deteriorate, whereas if there was no strip, that would not happen. But that's just something to keep in mind. It's not really a big detractor, but just something to think about. The other thing I want to tell you about the Echo Drive is that there's a low power indication feature on pretty much every Echo Drive watch. And what it consists of is the second hand, and I'll try to get that, okay. The second hand, which is down there at the center dial at the bottom sub-dial, instead of ticking every 1 second, it'll tick every 2 seconds to let you know when it's low on power. And you should either take it outside or put it under a desk under your light for the day, and it should be fine. It doesn't take really intense light to recharge it. But that's how you'll know, is you'll see it tick every 2 seconds instead of ticking off every second. Let's see. It's a brushed stainless steel case. It has and like most field watches, it has the Arabic numbers on the face of the watch, which makes it easy to read. It also has a black face, which in sunlight and bright conditions makes it also easy to read because it's not as reflective, and there's a good contrast between the Arabic numerals and the face of the watch itself. The lume, I always think is on Citizen watches is nice. That's why I wear mine usually to bed. Is because for me, I know other people may have a different experience, but for me, I go to bed 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, I can still read the lume in my bedroom when it's dark. Now, I have the one I'm wearing is more of a dive style Citizen watch, but for the most part, I think the Citizen generally has a very, very good lume. And in this watch, the numerals themselves are not illuminated. There's a dot marker around the outside for each numeral, and the hands themselves are lumed in. Strangely enough, the back end of the chronograph hand glows as well. I guess if you need to use a chronograph in the dark, you won't be able to read the chronograph, but you'll be able to see where the needle is. But regardless, it's a very clean look. It's very nice. It's classic Citizen. The watch is also water resistant up to 330 feet or 100 meters. Now, that sounds like a lot, okay? And it is. You can use this watch to go swimming. You can use this watch to shower. You can use this watch probably, you know, even to go snorkeling, you'd be fine. You can't use this watch to go diving. And part of the reason is if you'll notice, there's a, right here on the profile view, there's a nice, you'll see the dial here, the crown, and it's really cool because it's kind of diamond cut, so that's kind of neat. But it's not a screw down crown, and if you don't have a screw down crown, if you go to any depth of any real substance, even though it's supposedly water resistant to, you know, 200 feet, or 330 feet, it's going to leak, and you're going to start to see water vapor and stuff, or just a complete flooding of the watch, and that's probably going to be the end of it. So it's good for just about everything, but it's not a dive watch. That's just another thing to consider. So that's pretty much all the technical specs with the watch, but one thing I will say is that when in trying the watch on, the band itself is pretty short comparatively. You know, I have a thick wrist, I'm not going to lie to you, but you know, I can get it in just about in the last hole. So if you have a thick wrist, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you. I mean, I could still bend my arm and stuff, but the strap itself is not sitting in the keeper. So that's also something to consider if you have, you know, a larger than normal arm, or even if you have a standard arm, you know, size, wrist size. You may be affected by the fact that you're not going to get it closed as much as you might like, or it might be tighter than you might like, where the holes are. So the good thing about that is that if you do have a larger wrist like me, it's easily remedied. You can buy yourself an aftermarket NATO or Zulu strap that will come in the exact same olive drab color, and it'll be plenty long no matter pretty much how big your wrist is. So that's the upside of this type of watch, because it'll go well with it. It's a nice military watch, and you know, the NATO and Zulu are military style bands. Like I said, my favorite things about this watch are I like the chronograph, the Citizen chronographs. I think that they're very reliable. They keep good time. The Echo Drive means you never have to change the battery, which is nice. I've had my other Citizen for 11 years and never had to change the battery, never had to do anything to it, except for I beat it up a lot and it still keeps running. So, well, that's about it. This is, once again, the Citizen chronograph, AT0200-05E Echo Drive chronograph canvas watch. Hope you enjoyed this review. This is Tim, and I'll see you again next time.